All right, folks. Waiting on Getter. Hang tight. Looks like we're about there. All right. It's about time here. What are we in for today? Little rock, little rap. Let's go with the rap. It's new. It's new. We got to go with the new thing. All right. Between the numbers, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Low. Biggie in the cut. Story to be told. Rich running numbers.
Greenland sent him home, huh?
Mathematician.
Ooh,
Slick with
balls
precision.
on this
Calling
island.
truth in the streets.
Take it.
Clear with the vision. The people's Pundit. Speaking for the block. Saving the hood. Ticking time on his clock. Charts and stats. Yeah, truth ain't a bluff. Rich redefine the game when life gets tough. Two-pack with the fire. Rich got the stats. Trading street pain for polls and facts. City's dark as night. He shine that light beam. Statistics save you in a real life dream. From Cali to Brooklyn, the word spreads quick. Rich got the numbers, deep analytics, the shtick. We talking data, not drama. Truth over noise. Ghetto economists revamping the boys. The people's Pundit, speaking for the block. Saving the hood, ticking time on his clock. Charts and stats, yeah, truth ain't a bluff. Rich redefine the game when life gets tough. No cap in his step, just clear analysis. Breaking down lies in political palaces. Biggie and Pac, not in deeper consensus. Found a way to peace, reason is defenses.
Why do you know? Nobody needs a video. Pause it. Just pause it. Especially with the screen share thing going on. All right. All right. Bom. Welcome to Between the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and share them far and wide. All right, there's your zoomed up image of me that everybody wanted back. I like the wide angle. That's just me. I like the wide angle, but what are you going to do? Okay, public polling project link below, as is the sponsors. Share the public polling project. Share the public polling project far and wide. All right. We still have to have a little bit of discussion on what we're going to do with that. All right. As you can see, I changed the name. It's now spring 2025. and there are a lot of requests to do a lot of different things, but the last one got bumped. So it's just off season. It's the way it goes. So we're gonna get backed up here soon. All right. I am doing something for another project, and often I have to throw in different questions that are like traditional questions we would ask on the public polling project. Right track, wrong track is one of them, right? Because it's about sentiment, how people feel about things. Okay. It matters in a lot of different ways to a lot of different people, all right, in different industries. And then also, Trump's approval doesn't cost me much to take out of my pocket and do if I want to see it. So often I'll do that and I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to tack this on, no charge. I'm going to do it. Don't worry about it. And that's how I like to I don't like to dip my toe in the pool, folks, to see what temperature the water is every like few weeks. Like I like to keep my toe in the water, and this way I can get a better gauge and I'm not caught off guard or something's unexpected. All right. And there's a lot that's been going on. All right. So yeah, it should be only subscribers, Carly. It should be only subscribers in the chat. I usually do that on YouTube. If it's not, I'll go back and change it in a second. But all right. So I'm looking at Trump's approval rating, and it came down to planet Earth as we would expect it to. All right. Just so people know, the low for us right now is Trump +1, and I kind of expected it to go negative this week. I did. The high is Trump +18. That's his honeymoon period. That's the last public polling project we actually had up was his high. So I really do want to get another one. So we're not just looking like it's Trump plus whatever. We need to have a back down to earth poll as well. And man, I think that's consistent. That's the right thing to do. But last night, and really what is Tuesday, so really from like Sunday and Monday, it didn't come back down. It didn't go negative as I thought that it was on track to do. Other pollsters are going negative. For those who aren't watching Jack right now, I was on Jack. We pre-taped something this morning, and maybe I'll play some of the clips that they put up if I think that they're really important clips, because there's something I've hammered to you guys that I'm hammering again. I'm going to hammer it constantly. If a pollster cannot poll the election, then what they release or publish outside of that is garbage. It's not trustworthy. It's not credible. The only test we have as for you guys in your eyes about whether or not a pollster is credible or accurate is the election day test. If you can't gauge vote preference, all right, you will not be able to gauge sentiment or approval or support, oppose, right track, wrong track. It just doesn't matter. And because if you can't get the vote right, everything else is going to be messed up. Everything. You're not getting the electorate correctly. So, it's obvious. It stands to reason. Yet we love to cherry pick our polls. We love to ride these polls and digest them. It's throw them out at each other. Partisans love to take what they can get out of them, throw them out. And everyone's losing sight of the very simple fact that who gives a shit what Marist poll says, what the latest Marist poll finding is. Harry, why are you doing entire segments on the Marist poll? They suck. The Marist poll blows donkey D. They're not good at their job. They tried to move into the online collection space in 2024, didn't know what the hell they were doing, failed to block non-invitees and failed to block survey forwarding. So what does that mean? Anyone they sent it out to could send it to 80 of their friends and they could screw up the poll, and it's not even scientific anymore. We did it. We exploited it. They're garbage. And the host of other polls, there's like 3 people who know how to poll the United States of America at this point. That's it. So who cares? You can't, and if you're a Trump supporter, you can't take, and I'm going to show you, you can't take one Harry Enton segment about right track, wrong track, and then like pluck that out and then ignore that they have Trump underwater on approval. They also had Kamala Harris winning key battleground states in the Rust Belt, and she was winning everyone. They had Harris winning one of the Sun Belt states. She got thumped. They had Trump winning Arizona by a squeaker. He clapped her. He clapped her like a transgendered woman who thinks is transgender, whatever. I can't even keep up with the damn terminologies anymore. He clapped her in Arizona like that dude who thinks he's a girl clapped that female boxer in the Olympics. Give me a break. Who gives a damn? Such a, it's such a joke. Oh, they're Marist and they're credible. This one's doors are shutting down because they had to admit they can't even poll the damn country anymore. This entire website is shutting down because the grift has fallen apart. Like, why would you keep up with it? Let them collapse. You're helping them. But I do think anyway, what I'm seeing is that I do think a big part, because what that tells you is Maris could fudge the numbers to get his approval underwater, but they couldn't fudge the right track, wrong track. They couldn't fudge his favorability, which makes no sense. And I'm going to show you both clips in a second. But I do see the right track, wrong track. It's higher than it's been in more than 20 years since before the Great Recession. I thought we did have a positive right track, wrong track. We have never, as a public pollster, had a positive right track, wrong track, which I thought we did go positive during the first Trump administration. We did not. Right track, wrong track looks better today than it did when the economy was booming under the first Trump administration. His favorability ratings are better than they were even when the economy was booming under the first Trump administration. So where am I going with this? I feel like he started to tick back up. What's holding his floor, even though he's taking a beating and his messaging is not good. The White House messaging is not good. He's taking a beating on it, and I think he's being held up by the fact that people generally still see that the country now is back on track and that the economy is getting better. Like, they know about inflation, folks, before the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports it. They know, they see it, they feel it. It's a lagging indicator. Do you remember our last confidence index? It blew up on the inflation. It hit a new high. And then all of a sudden, we get a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics a month later that says, guess what? Inflation is returned to normal. And oh, by the way, eggs are cheaper than they were under Trump's first presidency. Gas is cratering, the cost of gas. Shelter's still up, but it makes sense. We caught on to that before the report came out because that report is a lagging indicator. And I feel like if the economy continues to get better, especially inflation, that is so like that's what sunk the Democratic Party. It's what was sinking Joe Biden. And I mean, there are other peripheral issues, sure. But when this group of people we're constantly trying to isolate, which is not the base, it's not the Trump voter, it is, this part of this loose coalition that he cobbled together, these people, especially the mind changers, they voted based on the amount of money they're spending at the grocery store every day. All right. So it matters. Would Trump's approval go up if he just went full Andrew Jackson? I do think it would go up if he told the courts to go themselves. I do, because there's a group of people that just want action. This comes with a caveat, though, Norm and everyone else. The White House is not doing a good job explaining to people why they're taking such dramatic steps and trying, look, it's human nature. Big change, especially in a short amount of time, makes people nervous. You have to hold their hand. They voted for it. They want it, but they are still hearing all these other birds and birdies in their ears. It's really devils on their shoulders. They're hearing all of these things, and that's not being countered. Not effectively, it's not. And so we have it. All right, but I'm going to go over some brief polling stuff. It's already 2:15. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to go over some brief polling stuff and why I think if we look between the numbers, this time we have to look between them. Then you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. And then I want to talk about why Republicans constantly fall for this crap. Jeffrey Goldberg at The Atlantic prints a story about how Michael Waltz, the national security advisor, and Pete Hegseth and JD Vance are all in this group chat. All right. and they texted me their war plans on accident. As it turns out, it wasn't really war plans, but they still did put him in this chat on accident, which was stupid. Okay. But it goes to show you that they're actually something called a skiff. You should be, but when you're not always able to talk to each other. I want us to move in person in a skiff. I want us to move into the age of technology the way that we already are. I mean, so we're not going to be able to travel without bio identification. So why not make sure that congressmen can vote far away? They should vote if they're far away. You don't have to be present to do that. The administration can talk about war plans without being present and in each other's presence because we're just all so damn busy. You will get more effective using these tools. However, the federal government is not keeping up with this. It actually is a great argument for Doge. It's just waste, fraud, abuse, and just straight up corruption and raping and pillaging. That's what they're, that's what the federal government is. And something like Doge could come in with the help of someone like Elon Musk and build something that's more secure and has more safeguards than just, oops, I added the wrong person to this chat. But anyway, Jeffrey Goldberg is a serial liar at the Atlantic. Russian is putting a bounty on U.S. troop stories, and Trump allows it. Russiagate, of course. It goes there in his history of fabricating stories, not getting facts wrong. He is a serial fabricator. His history of fabricating shit goes back all the way to the Iraq War and before. So anyone who ever sees a headline on the Atlantic should immediately, we call it the Goldberg rule over here. We've had it for years. We had it at PPD when he would print something. It's Goldberg rule. You have to wait at least 48 hours to regurgitate that story or give it any credence or credibility whatsoever. Why? Because Goldberg's stories fall apart within 48 hours. Yesterday it was 14 hours. 14 hours before we started asking questions like, wait a minute, that's not actually what the content of the message was. Maybe it isn't what he's saying it is. And then, of course, it's not. Now, it was still not good. The real question, by the way, is why the hell does Michael Waltz or anyone have Mr. Goldberg's number in their phone to even add him? You are part of the Trump administration. Goldberg is a serial liar who is an adversary of the American public and pushes propaganda and state-run media in order to try to take down the people's agenda. Why do you have his number in your phone at all? Why do you talk to anybody at the Atlantic? Are you or are you not a part of a movement? Because if you are, you got to take all of those people out of your phone because you don't recognize their authority or credibility. They have sold the country down the river, and they don't deserve their position at all in the media space covering you as an administration. You're playing by their rules, which then trickles down. You're the leaders. Then it trickles down. And I just really want to scan my buddy Kurt Schlichter's Twitter feed in a second to better articulate what I'm saying. But first, let's just watch the Fox News story real quick. Actually, let's do this, and then we'll go to the polling stuff. All right, so President Trump is not planning to fire National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the wake of the Atlantic's reporting on an apparent national security breach, Fox News has learned. He's not getting fired, Trump told Fox. The president said the incident was a mistake, though there was nothing important in the signal text threat. All right, so this is what he says, and then he goes on to say Michael Waltz is a good guy. This is the correct response. End of story. Your adversaries and enemies don't like it? Go fuck yourself. That's all. That's the answer. Go yourself. Do you think that Democrats would start to listen, bottom line, political cannibalism is stupid. Political cannibalism is stupid. You circle around and protect him. You pull a Henry V on that son of a, and that's it. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a famous story. Henry V invading France. He was very young at the time, by the way, trying to make his name. The British had longbows and lighter cavalry, if they even had cavalry, but they did. They just didn't have as much. Lighter knights. And they knew about what happens in rain, like rainy weather and on terrain that gets boggy. Of course, that's where they got iron ore from, right? And Henry V was smart. And he said, we're not going to charge in there and fight their knights like a bunch of idiots on hard ground. No, we're going to draw their knights in who are super heavy, all that armor on their horseback, in the weather, in the bog, and in the wet terrain. And they're going to get slow. They're even going to get stuck. And then we're going to open up on them with the British longbow and get in close and end them. But Henry got a little bit too close. Him and his cousin went too far ahead in the battle. They got separated from the king's men who are supposed to protect the king and make sure that he doesn't get killed. And the French surrounded him, even though they, yes, were moving slow. Henry was standing on his cousin who was down and injured, standing by the time the king's men got to him, swinging the sword like a wild man. You can't have him! That is the correct response. You don't give them anything. It doesn't matter what he did. I don't care if he was caught sniffing coke with a Chinese spy and having an affair with a honey badger. I don't give a shit. You deal with it internally and you deal with it later. You do not deal with it in front of everybody and give the head of your friend to your enemy in the hopes that your enemy is appeased. How's Eric Swalwell doing these days? Because he did exactly what I just said. And Democrats didn't even remove him from his position on the House Intelligence Committee. Adam Schiff is best buddies with a guy who injected young black and brown men with drugs so he could rape them. He also leaked constantly classified information to CNN when the House Intelligence Committee, which he was the ranking member of, was investigating the Russia collusion, what turned out to be a hoax. Guy would get up during classified briefings, classified hearings, pretend like he was going to take a piss, and then he would leak it to CNN while he was taking a piss. Or pretending to. Where's Adam Schiff these days? Did they throw him off the House Intelligence Committee? Did they remove him from the House or censure him? No, sir. He's the U.S. Senator from California right now. You never cut the head off of your ally and friend in the hope you can appease your enemy. So this is the right and correct response from Donald Trump. No, he's not getting fired. It was a mistake. End of story. I'm the president. I'll do what I want. Guess how many Americans give two flipping about this story? Nobody. If the price of eggs goes down tomorrow again, the price of gas continues to fall, and we can get rent and housing under control, nothing's going to stop this guy. Especially if he gets a peace deal in a war nobody wants to fight. Democrats watched as people held on to airplanes and fell 1,200 feet from the sky because they were desperately holding on to the wing of an airplane or the landing gear of an airplane for their lives while it was scrambling away to get out of Afghanistan as he left billions of dollars, Joe Biden left billions of dollars of military equipment behind for the Taliban to then use against us and our friends. After spilling blood and squandering enormous amounts of wealth and treasure in America's longest conflict. And what did Democrats say? Nothing. What did they say after more than 24 service members lost their lives in that debacle? Nothing. Because they know you don't eat your own. There's nothing politically smart about it. No American's going to stand up and say, good job, you did the right thing. You got character. The truth is, all of these fake conservatives who do that, they don't have any character. Should I start rattling off names? One's a fat slob who's just mad he can't get any consulting contracts anymore, so him and his friends leak stuff they found against Mark Robinson to Democrats. It's not character. They're cowards. They don't not fight because there's some character implication there. They don't fight because they're either crooks or they're cowards. So don't be stupid and take the high road position with them, because you're not. You're being duped. The high road position is to protect your own if you really think that you are in a conflict for the future of the nation. And if that's true, then anything can wait until the mission is done. No one's going to applaud you for doing the right thing. You're being a duck. That's it. Speaking of which, let's look at our buddy Kurt's screen, because Kurt on his Twitter feed, I'm just going to rattle off Kurt's Twitter feed. His reaction to how people responded to this. Let me make sure there's no private messages. We were actually talking earlier. I was going to ask him on, but it was last minute. Okay, so perfect example. Here is one of his responses right there. Oh, look, David French is talking about honor, everybody. Listen, because it's David French and he's talking about honor. Get it? No honor, utterly incompetent. David French is a loser. He's a loser, dirtbag coward who faked being a conservative for years. Who gives a shit what David French has to say? Let me ask you a question. Do you seriously think you're on the side of character if you're on David French's side? Do you know who this man is? All of the others who turn a blind eye while members of their pack are grooming and fondling boys? Tell me about your character. This is David French, who supported a regime that started an illegal war in a country that had Iran completely counterbalanced, totally under control, which led to the death and maiming of, some estimates, over 1 million people that had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. That David French, over an article published by a magazine owned by a person who also did the same thing, that Mr. Goldberg? Tell me again about your character and your principles. Dead kids are dead kids, folks. Apparently, we're supposed to love European freeloading. Why? Because some of the messages are about what they say out loud. Our so-called European allies are a bunch of freeloading losers who don't fight when there's actual conflicts. They don't really contribute. They haven't since World War II. What are we talking about here? They buy oil from our enemies, who then they accuse us of being close to. It's incredible. Unbelievable. But here's where he really gets to it. Why won't you Republicans ignore the last decade and abandon your allies when we want you to? This is a response to people saying, what's wrong, Kurt? You don't have character? You're not consistent, Kurt, because they're not consistent. You're playing by a different set of rules. And by the way, you never knee-jerk believe somebody in the mainstream media about anything. They edit and choose and cut and paste what they want you to see. The New York Times edited 500 words out of the transcript that Vindman leaked, which led to the impeachment of Trump in his first administration. They edited 500 words out of that transcript. They then took selectively the ambassadors' emails and showed you what they wanted you to see, so it made it look like Donald Trump was threatening to hold up key weapon systems in exchange for him to do a political favor for him. But if you got the whole transcript, you'd realize it was actually Vladimir Zelensky who brought it up. He asked for Rudy Giuliani. You don't trust these people because they're liars. Anonymous leakers of actual classified material, just great. They're the truest patriots of all. I don't know. And then in response to David French, I cannot wait for folks on this site to explain how this, which would cause them to howl for an investigation and charges if the shoes were on the other foot, is either no big deal or nine-dimensional chess. And Kurt exactly responded with the correct response. I don't have to explain why. Your friend's conduct explains why. French is dumb and said a lot of dumb things, but to pretend he doesn't understand that the rules have changed completely regarding this stuff, maybe the dumbest of them all. This is the thing. You're being a duck. French knows he's full of shit. The only ones at home who don't are all the rest of them on Twitter and X who don't know the guy, don't know the players, don't know the game, don't know the system, who are just following the lead. He knows he's playing you. Trust me. He knows he's full of shit. And if the exact shoe he's talking about, was on the other foot, he'd cover for them. The only one who doesn't know are the fool Republicans who fall for it every time. There's frankly nothing terrifying to Democrats than us being guilty of their charge of protecting our own from their BS scandals. They never get ahead. Never. They're talking Republicans into, they're talking about, is what he means, talking Republicans into committing suicide takes away about half their firepower. That's exactly right. What do people not understand about this? You're predicting very predictable behavior is the entire reason we get these stories. Do you think this didn't happen under the Biden administration? Of course it did. The only difference is the rules of the game are different. So Jeffrey Goldberg just turned a blind eye. Don't worry, I got you. Wink, wink. Don't forget to buy me another drink and a 15-year-old the next time I'm in town. I mean, wake the fuck up. The signal chat thing is a gut check for alleged cons. He means conservatives. Nothing significant was revealed. Worst case, it was a mistake that will never happen again. More likely, a proven liar has now lied about at least some of it. And yet, so many people are delighted to have the opportunity to freak out about something that Trump administration did. It's bizarre how they play along with leftist narratives. The answer to your enemies is to give them nothing. Nothing. You're not being principled. You're not demonstrating integrity. You're showing weakness. Understand that your enemies never get anything except pain and mockery. There's no such thing as even-handedness. Either win or you lose. I choose winning. You do you. That is the response of somebody who gets it. This guy knows what time it is, yo. This guy knows what time it is. Chelsea Clinton, who was in the chat, right? Exactly. This girl got an entire explanation over Benghazi from her mother in both emails and text messages. What happened to Hillary Clinton? Jack shit. She ran for president and lost, and her consolation prize was adding tens and tens of millions of dollars to her already vast personal fortune from being a so-called public servant because she has no talent, so she didn't earn that money. She sold access for 3 decades. And as a reward, she doesn't get charged and she gets more money. You want to hand up Mike's head on a platter? You want to hand up Pete's head on a platter? Then you don't get it. All right. It's 2:35. I think I've made my point. I could keep going because he just goes on with this brilliance. Kurt, those police the right conservatives who are so giddy about the signal chat thing do not need a gut check. They're on the other team. The gut check is on us. We must stop pretending that National Review Online and their media pet conservatives are any different than Bill Kristol or Rick Wilson. I mean, it's just so much. There's so much candy in here. He's on a tear. Stop policing our own side. All it demonstrates is weakness and not integrity. Never, ever, ever help the enemy who wants you dead or enslaved. To do otherwise betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of the struggle we are in. It is not 2003. Get that through your heads. Folks, they tried to imprison for the rest of his natural life the leader of a majority of a movement in this country supported by the vast majority of Americans. They tried to kill him. They locked up grandmas and grandpas for simply questioning whether or not it was easy to stuff absentee ballots, which of course it is, and everyone knows it is. Even the liars at Snopes and PolitiFact know that it is. Even the FBI, who says there was no evidence of it, knows that it is. They're indicting people from Atlantic City to Philadelphia and elsewhere. The only difference is they only get indicted when they exhaust their usefulness or they become a threat to the FBI. That's when they get indicted. Those are the rules of the game. Everyone knew Andrew Gillum was a crook. He only got indicted because he wasted tens of millions of dollars of Democratic donor money and gave nothing to them as a return on investment. So they picked up the phone and they called their friends. And they said, no more protection. The veil has fallen. Next thing you know, we all find out publicly what we all knew anyway. This is a guy who is a crook, first of all, scamming on real estate, using his office as a way to get rich with developers, and spends his weekend smoking meth and banging men while he cheats on his wife. That all of a sudden became a revelation, even though everyone knew it, because he lost his political protection. He crossed them. Those are the rules of this game. You do not eat your own. You do not offer the enemy the head of your friend to appease your enemy. And Republicans just keep falling for it. You deserve what you get if you keep doing it. That's it. These people, these critics, are responsible for the deaths and the maiming of hundreds of thousands, millions of people in the Middle East who they taught to hate you. And they did nothing. They wanted that oil. They believe in a vision of the world that is absurd and impossible, frankly, impossible. You cannot use the primacy of U.S. power to shape the world into America. That's neoconservatism. And they took out a guy and a regime that balanced the same state right now they're arguing is your next greatest threat, Iran. These people have so much blood on their hands, they're going to have the worst life review ever when they take their last breath. Talk to me about how much integrity they got, how much principle they got. None of those pieces of shit at The Atlantic have apologized for lying to the American public about WMDs and yellow cake stories and dirty bombs that never went off. They did, however, get you put in a surveillance state, which you have not been able to cast off you since. These guys. All right. We'll be back. I should have had, you know what? Maybe we'll have Kurt on to extend this conversation because this will not be the last time Republicans do this to themselves. They're so incredibly stupid. But don't worry. They're going to go run out and nominate a bunch of fake MAGAs with the right last names, and that's going to get you control of the House of Representatives in 2026. They're pieces of shit, Eric. J.D. Vance should nominate, and you'll see some of the clips to go watch Jack Posobiec later after the show. He's going to no doubt, he'll pump out those clips. J.D. Vance should nominate Tulsi Gabbard if he gets a nomination. Right now, it's his going away. He should. Yeah, absolutely should. You know why? Because it would bring in the new right, solidify the new right, and it would finally end the charade that these people are Republicans. David French hasn't voted for a Republican since God knows how long. Definitely voted for Hillary Clinton. Same goes for Bill, my daddy was a communist crystal. And the rest of those scumbags who pretend like they're august, the rest of us. Kiss my Working class born Italian ass. You're not better than the rest of us. You're worse. All right, let's get back. Let's get back to it. Oh, I gotta take a break. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get back to the polling side of this thing, and we'll get back to the issue at play here. And by the way, this is another thing when it comes to dumbass Republicans. All right, they pump all this money into these garbage efforts, these fake think tanks, these bogus right-wing magazines and newspapers. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, have fun with your ABC News Washington Post poll. All right, let's take a break. Sometimes, folks, these woke institutions do get it right. There is new bombshell research from top Yale scientists who do confirm that the post-vaccination syndrome, or what's called PVS, weakens your immune function, causing chronic inflammation and declining T cell activity, while spike protein levels increase over time. This means your immune system could be wearing down, making you more vulnerable to illness. Good job, guys, with that jab. No longer a conspiracy theory. It's backed by hard science. Are you still feeling the effects of the COVID or the shot? The long COVID syndrome is a condition, and that it lives in people feeling brain fog, chronic fatigue, and a shortness of breath. It lingers for months, in some cases years. The wellness company makes it easy for you to tackle this with the new long COVID syndrome support. You get 4 doctor-formulated nutraceuticals with 5 to 8 plants and minerals in each bottle, designed to address the root causes of it. Ultimate Spike Detox, Mind Lift, Elevated Energy, and Healthy Heart. Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting cardiologist, recommends a durable recovery through holistic health. Explore targeted solutions like long COVID syndrome support. You can get $23 off of it right now and free shipping if you go to twc.health/TPP. Use the code TPP, the People's Pundit, TPP. And basically take advantage of that now for peace of mind and shed off the long COVID. I got to tell you, especially Ultimate Spike Detox, because we've been using it for a while. And the sponsors have been advertising it for a while. I get a lot of great feedback about Ultimate Spike Detox. A lot of great feedback. That's probably one of the highest, along with Brickhouse Nutrition's Field of Greens, which I love and take on a daily basis. I don't sleep. I wonder what I feel like without Field of Greens and some of the wellness company's products. All right. 244. It is crazy, right? Isn't it nuts? It's crazy. It's insane. And I'm telling you, I already knew that stuff was coming because it's insane what AI can do with certain data collection modes, polling. And it can be used for many, many other things, including campaign, being on the cusp of technology with campaigning. It's writing an entirely new book. And, it can listen to my interviews over and over and over, or even my peer-to-peer interviews where we go back and forth, and it can see how I respond. It can see how I talk. And then so when it does it for me and conducts an AI request and invitation, and then even impart peer-to-peer interview, because the rest is human, it can act and sound just like me. So yeah, I mean, you look at that song, the intro song that somebody put together, it sounds incredible. And consider Suno can do that. The tools that we have for AI that are used for polling, outreach, a whole bunch of other stuff, voter registration, you name it. Think about what it can do and how it can be applied. I mean, it does, and it changes by agent. So if we have one agent A who's also doing interviews, when the AI takes over, it sounds like him or her. And agent B, him or her. It's crazy. It's crazy. And responds with it, because after a while it's augmenting a database that it has access to, and it's getting smarter and smarter as you're conducting more interviews. So by the time it's got sufficient information, which is not that long, by the time it has sufficient information, it's going to respond just like you anyway. It even mimics how I often will write colloquially, like you write how you speak. That's what that means. Crazy. All right, so let's do right direction, wrong track first. All right. So here's Enton going off of the shitty Maris poll without disclaiming at all that Maris blew the election. Kamala Harris did not win the popular vote by 4 points. Kamala Harris was never ahead in the popular vote at all, let alone by 4 points. Not within and not with outside the margin anyway. There were times when we had Kamala up like 1.2 or something, depending on whether it was a head-to-head or which scenario, ballot scenario we pulled. Head-to-head, all the candidates, just Kennedy with someone else, or just Stein with someone else, just, the Libertarian and a generic someone else. In some ways, she would have a marginal lead during like in heightened response bias periods, which even we cannot totally filter out when it's very bad or account for. We certainly, though, are not subjected to wild swings. We don't gyrate back and forward because we do have some great deal of protection against response bias, unlike Maris. But it doesn't matter. You could never find Kamala Harris ahead by 4 points. If you did, you're not good at your job, period. But we all know that Maris is not trustworthy anyway, because once they were told they failed to block survey forwarding, that poll should have been conducted again. It should never have been released, but they did anyway. And I preempted it. When I found out about it, I went to Real Clear Politics and I said, look, when the Maris poll comes out, you should seriously consider not putting it up on your website because it's compromised. All right. Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, look. I mean, while I'm talking, I mean, you can see this. It's absolutely. If I just saw what I think I just saw, then a source was right. Are you serious? That could mean something, Devin Archer just got a pardon. Devin Archer was the former businessman for Hunter Biden. Honestly, a couple of things could be happening here. One is Devin Archer did cooperate with Republicans' investigations, and it's unfair, it's unjust that some piece of shit like Hunter Biden and all the other shitheads, scumbags, crooks that were raping and pillaging our country with their daddy, all the pardons they. And by the way, Adam Schiff got a pardon, right? All the J6 people got a pardon. I mean, J6 committee people, the witch hunters, they all got a pardon. So maybe it's just justice here. Let me look it up. I'll look it up. Maybe it's just justice here, or there is something that's going on because it's possible. I heard something. I'm not going to push it because I don't know if it's true. I'm not getting people in a position like TikTok, something's going to happen. But I did hear about someone getting rolled up and that now. So that now, because that person happens to have gone dark on Twitter. So I don't want. I'm having a difficult time confirming something, but I did notice that the target of a so-called investigation was who they claimed has already gotten rolled up, is inactive on Twitter and has been inactive for a while, and it's a very active Twitter account or X account. So it's been active for a while now. So we'll see. And that makes me, with Devin Archer getting a pardon, it makes me kind of wonder something, whether or not these people are telling the truth. We'll see, though. I'm reserving judgment. I'm a cynic, and I always believe that accountability, you should just expect it not to come. And if it does, it's icing on the cake. But if you expect the system to be fair and just, you're going to be disappointed every time. All right, but it's 2:50 already, so damn, let's get to it. I think there's a few things happening here, and I want to play 2 clips from this segment with this crappy poll. All right, by the way, the Enton aggregate was garbage during the election, so I'm not sharing this because I think the guy's credible. I'm sharing this because what he picks up on, I think. I see it. I just see it in the more accurate way. And I think that's why maybe Trump ticked up a little bit these last couple of days, but we'll see. All right.
Sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number 1 and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to compare him to himself to understand he's actually more popular now than he was when he won, or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt. So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important because, again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Marist, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Marist has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof. And if you were to compare it to when presidents have historically been reelected, of course, Trump is not constitutionally eligible to run for re-election, but I think it sort of puts it in perspective. 42% of the country says the country is on the right track when the incumbent party is re-elected. And also keep in mind, back when Kamala Harris lost and the Democrats were turned out of power, only about 27 to 28% of the country said the country is on the right track. The bottom line is right now, a much higher percentage of the country says we're on the right track. And finally, Sarah Seidner, I want to put it all in the congressional generic ballot.
What about Congress?
What about Congress? Because those are the folks who are up in
Hurry up here, Harry.
And take a look here. The Dems versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot. Back in November of 2020, when Democrats won, it was +5 Democrats. Tied in November of 2022, +1 in November of 2024. When
Ian, I know. Oh, my God.
And then you look at March
it's
of
painful to watch, but
this number looks a lot more like 2022 or 2024 when Republicans won control of Congress. The bottom line is, yes, Donald Trump's approval rating is lower than compared to a lot of his predecessors, but it's higher than compared to himself. A lot of folks say the country's on the right track, and the generic congressional ballot looks a heck of a lot more like when Republicans win than when Democrats win.
All right, so let's just end that real quick. I just want to qualify some of this. Number one, again, it's Marist. Marist sucks. Marist is not good. It has a very heavy Democratic bias. So the fact that they have some of these numbers where they have is quite remarkable. And if you were to kind of like look at it and look at their bias, it would, and adjust for it, you would probably see those numbers look, and Trump's approval is better because you're adjusting for those numbers. You would see the generic ballot and right track, wrong track much closer than in line to the rest of us who actually know how to poll. By the rest of us, I mean, you can count them on one hand. All right. And that's it. If you adjust for that bias, you'll actually see that Trump's approval is still positive. All right. So there's that. Marist, go look at their generic ballot, by the way, in this last cycle. Go look at how much they overstated the national support for Kamala Harris. I mean, this matters. This stuff matters. If you can't poll an election, you can't poll anything else. Got it? They constantly overstate Democratic support. I see people going back to like freaking 2012 and 16 to try to make the argument that they didn't. In 16, they actually did pretty well with the popular vote and the presidential level, but they did horrible with the states. In 18, they were one of the worst polls. They understated J.D. Vance in Ohio by 7 points. They had that race tied. I mean, they're garbage. They're trash. They had Harris winning one of the Sunbelt states. She lost all of them. She lost every Rust Belt state where she was ahead in their polling. They gave her a tight lead in some of these states, yet gave her a national popular vote edge of 4 points. Folks, when you know what the industry thinks, how they're thinking, right, where their mindset is. Their mindset was that Harris could eke out an electoral college victory if she wins the popular vote by 2.5 to 4 points. So when you see a pollster put up the margin she needs to actually win in win the electoral college, and they do it in a way where they're hedging these states like crazy all over the place, it's garbage. They're doing that. They are fudging the numbers to make it look like that. That's just true. Sorry, I'm not playing this game anymore, man. They're liars. They're not wrong. They're liars. There is ample evidence that they are doing something wrong, even if it's not intentional. yet they refuse to correct for it. So either way, whether it's worst case where they're actually playing with the weights, they're going in and they're rake weighting to see what they can get. They're rake weighting individual variables to see what they can get with those weights, the outcome that they want, or they're just wrong. It doesn't matter anymore. There's been so many cycles of them screwing up and overstating Democratic support. You have to be doing it on purpose if you're ignoring what you're doing wrong. Either way, you're doing it on purpose and you're a scumbag and you're bad at your job and you don't have credibility. Either way, it's the same conclusion. What does it matter? Although I happen to think that they are going in and playing with the variables. I do. I'm there now. I wasn't there with everybody now. I'm there with like everyone. I can count, like I said, on my hand the number of pollsters who try to do a good job, have done a good job. And if and when they are wrong at least sometime, it's because nobody can be perfect. That's statistics. That's how this works. Every 1 in 20 poll you conduct is theoretically going to be an outlier and be wrong. Those are the rules. Those are the laws. And yet somehow they're not. They have no outliers. They always do the same thing over and over again. Out of the consensus to Democratic over and over and over and over. Let's get a little bit more to what he was talking about, though, with Trump's actual numbers specifically.
I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit
Oh,
of
wait. Oops. Okay. Woo. Okay. My bad. I uploaded. It doesn't matter. He's going to repeat the same thing. The bottom line is look more deeply in the difference between his favorability ratings and everything like that. The bottom line is this idea as this headline, and we've seen a few of them now, that Trump is nowhere divvies in the same spot he was, is insane. You could see, and we told you before the election, that Trump's retrospective approval rating recovered from a negative rating faster than any president in modern history and went beyond what it ever was during his presidency. Even during COVID in our polling, he was not as popular during COVID at the height of his popularity than he is today. And from the retrospective approval rating, looking at the time here, from retrospective approval rating, once that began to change, his favorability rating began to follow, which was something that I believe none of us expected because Donald Trump, his special weapon, secret weapon, is that he's able to win votes of people who don't particularly like him. They still think he's competent and they think he's a good president. I don't like that guy, man. He's so annoying with this crap. He drives me nuts. But I'm going to vote for him because he gets the job done and he's better than the alternatives. Those people have shrunk, as has the percentage of people who just hate his guts. That number is dramatically smaller than it was back in 2016 and beyond. Even 2020 when he ran for re-election. We would routinely see 38, 40% strongly dislike or strongly or very unfavorable, routinely strongly disapprove. That number has fallen to only about a quarter. They are a gross minority. And the rest of them, by the way, love him it exceeds hate him. Okay? And to put it in layman's terms. And the rest that are in the middle are squishy and they can change their mind at really any given time. Sometimes they do, but it's not huge. It's just that they're soft on where they are. They're maybe not partisans. They don't have super strong convictions. Like, hey, things are going right. I somewhat approve. I don't know. I didn't like what I heard the other day on this channel, whatever. I somewhat disapprove. And that can change tomorrow. All right. All right. What do we got here? All right. Let me just see real quick if I'm missing anything. I am not on locals. Cool. All right. So with that in mind, look, if you haven't joined the book club, you absolutely have to join. Ooh, I just pulled one of those things where you pull the napkin out on the table from underneath there. Only it was a book. All right. Nations and Identities. Vincent Pecora. Great book. It is. Honestly, I would pick now, if I was to rewrite this, I would pick something different. I would, but it is what it is. Okay. We just got done with Ernest Renan. what is a nation? Oh, so good. All right. And you can't think about these things unless you learn about them, folks. Not in the correct context. You can't know the totality of current political discourse if you don't study this stuff. We were just discussing on Sunday how it's like all of a sudden a dirty thing, xenophobic. You got prejudice against this one. You got a prejudice against that one. If you want, which the vast majority of the American public do, Donald Trump to declare English the official national language, and say you have to speak English here, say you have to speak English there, right? When academics who have been studying this for hundreds of years say you can't have a nation with a common language, without a common language. You have to be a melting pot, not a mosaic. And these are people, they're not Republicans or Democrats. They're dead before any of this happened. And we're reading this, by the way, as a precursor to reading Benedict Anderson, who wrote Imagined Communities. And that is a seminal piece of work in the study of nationalism. All right. So far, we've gone through some say, the origin of what makes a people a nation is their religion. What makes the people a nation is more than that. There's more going on there. There has to be some people say it's within the political institutions. They do it. That's what's doing it. And others say, no. There was a spirit before it manifested into something else. And Renan says, you know what? You're all over the place. I'm taking this back down to planet Earth. We're going to coalesce. You're all wrong and you're all right. And it's great. And from there, it's a basic understanding of what is a nation, or at least an attempt to. It is the 19th century. And then others will work on it from there and try to refine it, including modern scholars. So you got to check it out. All right. Yeah, Matt, we all got to peace out. All right. So peace out, bro. That's all. It's funny. You're funny, dude. Yeah, we all got to go, but definitely check this out. Also, keep an eye on my Twitter feed, locals. I'll throw them up. I'm sure Jack's got some great clips. We had a great conversation earlier today, and I just, got to go and watch the clips because it airs at the same time. He's traveling. I was sure we couldn't make it work. We're trying to get together. And then finally we said, you know what? Let's just do this early in the morning and we'll bang this out, and that won't impact either one of our shows. And that's it. All right. And of course, we moved our time on Jack. We did it. Right. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks. Don't forget to share the Public Polling Project far and wide. Share the Public Polling Project far and wide. Contribute what you can. Obviously, you got to deal with your own situation first. But if you can't contribute. All right. But we really do need to expand the contributor base as well. So it would be much appreciated if you could do that. Right. I put up Crew Kids things to remind you that political cannibalism is stupid, and this is what they will do to you. All right. So if I just don't understand you Republicans. I don't understand it. I really don't. Like that's why I'm not a partisan. For those of you who really know who I am, all right, not the stupid idiots who try to write shit pieces about me. People who know who I really am know I'm not a partisan. And there's certain things about both sides that I really cannot understand. Democrats, I can't understand how you are actively pursuing something that's going to destroy your bloodline. You're going to hurt your children because you're too much of a coward to deal with things now. I also don't know how you could be so stupid as to think that big government could be this metaphorical referee who's going to get between big bad corporations and the little guy that they punish, right? I mean, that's a whole argument from socialism, except those big bad corporations could never be as dangerous to you, the little guy, as big government. They don't have police state power. None of what you think you believe makes sense. It logically doesn't make sense. Also, it doesn't hold with human nature. Collectives are lazy and they freeload. Ask them in Pilgrims. Thank God they changed that. Otherwise, they'd have died here and we wouldn't be here right now. And on the right, I don't understand why you're such cowards. Political cowards. I don't understand why you think, this is a perfect example, that who you are, what you do is ever going to be good enough for them. They're fanatics. What don't you understand about that? They're unstable fanatics. And many of their people are unstable fanatics. That's why Steve Scalise walks with a limp right now. That's why Rand Paul was hospitalized, because of his nut job left-wing neighbor. That's why Donald Trump almost got his brains blown out in Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, geez. And again, please don't talk to me about character or integrity. It's all a scam. It's all a con. I know who you are. I know who you are. All right. Don't forget to like the videos if you like them and share them far and wide. And as always, the best place to follow us is on Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. And it's great if you do sign up on YouTube too. That's fantastic. But I would love everybody to migrate over to Locals. If you can't and you just love YouTube, it is what it is. That's why we stream to it still. But Locals is the platform that always had our back. So we want to have its back. And that's, I mean, it's just like anything in the world. That's who you want to associate yourself with. For those of you who have kids home on spring break, I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to try to do that myself. I want to watch some cartoons with my little one tomorrow morning after I finally get a good night's rest tonight, which I better get because I'm about to fall over. All right. Enjoy your lunch if you're like me and you're going to have a belated lunch. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow on Inside the Numbers. Let's take it away.
The people's Pundit, speaking for the block, saving the hood, ticking time on his clock. Charts and stats, yeah, truth ain't a bluff. Rich redefine the game when life gets tough. No cap in his.
Oh yeah, these clips from Jack are good. We'll share them out later, guys.
Biggie and Pac, nodding deep in consensus. Found a way to peace. Reason is defenses.